Facing an unstoppable power is a nightmare. What can we say about facing an unknown power? This is the paradox Washington faces at this moment. The Houthis announced that the worst is yet to come, with new weapons set to debut in their attack plan. In fact, there is already talk of a total effort involving the well-known cruise missiles, a renewed version with a single objective: to sink the USS Harry Truman aircraft carrier forever, marking a symbolic act in the Red Sea. According to the Houthis, there is a power that could bring the Northern Empire to its knees. Get ready, because what you're about to hear could change the way you see global power. At Quick News, we break it all down to foster your critical understanding of current events. The hidden power, the one even Donald Trump did not expect. The Houthis have not shown their full capacity, and this is something Washington could discover very soon, especially concerning the USS Harry Truman nuclear aircraft carrier. Following the massive deployment of forces in the region, especially the USS Harry Truman and the USS Carl Vinson, the Houthis, represented by the Ansar al-Jihad movement, warn of a more serious threat looming over the interests of the United States and its military presence in the Red Sea. The cruise missiles and drones, weapons perfected and adapted by the Houthis in their fight against foreign aggression, have been reinforced and reinvented as part of an offensive that aims to strike and possibly sink the formidable USS Harry Truman. These are new weapons, the rebels warn, in response to the arrival of the American aircraft carriers. The Houthis have increased their efforts to make their presence felt, showing that their reaction capacity is as dangerous as it is unpredictable. Brigadier General Yahya Sareh, spokesperson for the Sana'a forces, has not hesitated to make their intentions public. Through a series of missile and drone attacks, they have made it clear that the Houthis not only defend their territory, but are willing to directly confront the world's largest military power. Yesterday's operation, which targeted the aircraft carriers in the Red Sea, was a clear demonstration of strength and a resounding message. The war is far from over, and the Houthis' most advanced weapons are ready to be deployed in the next phase of this conflict. Since the United States intervened in the conflict by sending F-18 fighter jets to bomb areas in the capital, Sana'a, the situation has intensified. The areas targeted by the US planes in the B-Hash district and other regions of Sana'a were not only centers of insurgent activity, but homes and lands of civilians who suffer the consequences of the war without being responsible for the terrorist attacks or the decisions of their leaders. These attacks, which mostly targeted uninhabited areas, were perceived by the Houthis as yet another aggression, one that would not go unanswered. The new weapons the Houthis have promised to introduce into the battlefield are a sign of the determination with which they face the technological superiority of the United States. According to Yusan al-Si, a member of Ansar Alag's political office, President Donald Trump is not only eliminating civilians, but is choosing escalation. This statement highlights the moral dilemma of the US intervention in the region, where foreign powers, as in so many other interventions in the Middle East, are accused not only of ignoring the consequences of their actions, but also of fueling a conflict that could spiral out of control. The Houthis, far from being just an insurgent faction, have consolidated themselves as a military force capable of challenging Western powers with their own methods of warfare, including long-range missiles and the threat of coordinated drone attacks. Despite diplomatic efforts and the popular marches that have taken place in Sana'a and other Houthi-controlled areas, where thousands of Yemenis have expressed their support for the movement and their rejection of foreign intervention, the war continues to advance with few signs of imminent ceasefire. Amid growing tension, the US ambassador to Yemen, Stephen Fahim, has held meetings with leaders of the Presidential Council, an organization backed by the Saudi-led coalition. Fahim has urged the unification of government forces in preparation for a possible direct confrontation with the Houthis, while reports indicate that relations between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have begun to show signs of fracture, further complicating the power dynamics in the region. The accusations against Saudi Arabia, made by media close to the UAE, highlight the internal complexities of the war coalition in Yemen. According to reports, Saudi Arabia has been accused of failing to properly lead the coalition and of not halting the growing power of the Houthis. This lack of cohesion within the coalition, coupled with the growing political legitimacy of the Houthis, has allowed the insurgent group to strengthen its positions both militarily and diplomatically. At the same time, Yemen's continued support for Gaza, expressed in large popular demonstrations, underscores the international stance of the Houthi movement, which presents itself as a defender of the Palestinians in their struggle against Israeli occupation, confronting Western powers which, according to the Houthis, are responsible for Gaza's suffering. The use of cruise missiles and precision drones in the airstrikes launched against US aircraft carriers underscores the Houthis' capacity to challenge major powers on their own terrain. The threats to sink the Harry Truman, one of the jewels of the US fleet, are more than just a statement. They serve as a stark reminder that the war in Yemen, far from being a local conflict, has global implications. If the Houthis fulfill their threat, it could be a devastating blow to the image of the United States, which has been unable to quell the uprising of an insurgent group that has survived years of bombings and sanctions. Trump's potential defeat in this scenario is not just a military issue, but also a political one. The US administration, as it continues to escalate its involvement in the region, faces a strategic dilemma: how to respond to Houthi aggression without pushing the region into further instability, without alienating allies in the region, and most importantly, without risking a larger conflict with Iran, which supports the Houthis. The next moves in this geopolitical chessboard could define not only the future of Yemen, but also that of the Trump administration in its struggle to maintain control over the key waters of the Red Sea and protect its interests in the Gulf of Aden. The situation remains tense, and the uncertainty surrounding the Houthis' future actions continues to fuel anxiety in Washington. The Houthis, backed by a population that sees them as the last line of defense against foreign aggression, are unwilling to back down. Meanwhile, the threat of new weapons and more sophisticated attacks remains a sword of Damocles that could change the course of this conflict and the relationship between the United States and a region that has long been the stage for conflicting interests, from the fight for oil to the defense of strategic allies. The conflict in the Red Sea has entered a new and dangerous phase. As the Houthis unveil what they claim are powerful new weapons, including advanced cruise missiles and drones, Washington faces not only a military challenge but a profound strategic dilemma. The looming threat to the USS Harry Truman signals a bold escalation and a symbolic move meant to shake the global image of US military invincibility. More than just a regional skirmish, this evolving confrontation highlights the Houthi movement's transformation into a potent geopolitical actor, capable of confronting Western powers head-on. With cracks forming in the US-backed coalition and growing public support for the Houthis in Yemen and across the region, especially in connection with their vocal support for Gaza, the stakes are higher than ever. This is no longer a war fought in the shadows. It's a direct challenge to US influence in one of the world's most strategic waterways. The question now is not whether the Houthis will act, but how far they are willing to go, and how Washington will respond without sparking a regional inferno that could involve Iran and ripple across the entire Middle East. Now it's your turn. If you found this analysis revealing, leave us a comment with your opinion on this conflict. Do you believe the Houthis truly have the power to sink a US aircraft carrier? What would be the consequences? Subscribe if you haven't already, because we'll be following the evolution of this story minute by minute. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next video, where we'll analyze which other powers might get involved and how this conflict could escalate into a global crisis. And if you want to learn more about how the Houthis were formed and their role in the Yemen war, click now on the video on screen. I promise it will surprise you.